Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hot Mic with Lady She. Of course, I am Lady She, the host. I am feeling so excited and blessed today. Listen, you guys know me. You know I am Team Women Empowerment. I am Team People Empowerment. So the guest that I have on today, this beautiful being next to me, is going to bless us in reference to that as a whole. Thank you for coming, Dr. Renee White of South Jamaica, Queens, in the building. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so excited. And she's gorgeous. What in the world? She got the nerve to be beautiful and smart. What they call it, beauty and brains. But no, yes, thank you so much for coming. Also, big, huge shout out to Black Long Island and Black Women of Long Island.
Yes.
I believe that's where I actually saw your post, sharing about your book and everything. Congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
She is an author 3 times over now, people. Okay, she
Bestseller.
Bestseller. She said, don't forget that part. Bestseller. But I'm excited to tap into all things Dr. Renee White. Thank you,
Doctor.
for.
That's good.
Thank you so much for coming. So, Dr. Renee White of Queens, New York.
Yes.
How did this come about? Like, I need to know about the journey, the growing up situation. What was it like growing up in Jamaica, Queens?
Well, I'm just a tad older than you, so it's just a tad. I won't claim. So I was born and raised in Jamaica, Queens. My dad was a tractor trailer driver for the post office, and my mom was a stay-at-home. And I always wanted to be a teacher. I used to play teacher in the basement with my little chalkboard, and in school I used to, take my lunch and go down to the kindergarten classes and to read. And I always wanted to, so be a teacher. So, So I went to school. I went to NYU, and then I became a teacher in the Board of Ed. Okay. And I had the wonderful experience of going back to my elementary school
I love that.
to teach.
I love that.
So it was like my friends' kids were there, but then also some of my teachers were still there. Wow. So it's like, do you say Mr. or do you call them by their first name? So that was a wonderful experience. And actually, I'm going back tomorrow to my old elementary school to facilitate some workshops using my books with the children there. And then I became a reading specialist because I wanted to make more of an impact. Instead of staying in one classroom, I wanted to do more administrative.
Okay.
Exactly, and so I taught at a couple of different schools. And then I moved to Virginia. Wow. My family's from Virginia, and I was, in my 20s, and I wanted to try living independently, right? Somewhere else, a different environment. So I was a reading teacher in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Oh, I know Charlottesville.
Charlottesville.
Wow.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm down here. I might as well go to school because I always wanted my doctorate, because my whole plan was to become a superintendent.
Love that.
So I went to UVA and I got my doctorate in leadership to become a superintendent, got all my certifications and whatnot. And I applied to various jobs, and I applied also to higher ed. I ended up at Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. And that was, 28 years ago. And I've been teaching higher ed now for a long time. And so now I moved back to New York, and I've been out here at St. Joseph's University for about 24, 25 years. Wow. And loving it, and just, even though I didn't become a superintendent in regards to policy making, but it's so interesting where I've been a college professor training teachers to better teach our children, Yes. So it's like I'm still doing what my goal was, making a difference. But it's just the idea of being steered in that direction. And so I teach literacy, and I also teach diversity. I prepare teachers to teach for diversity in the classroom.
We need that one, that's for sure.
That's the truth.
Definitely want to tap into that. That sounds so amazing. Are you the only child?
No, I'm the youngest.
You're the youngest?
I'm the youngest of 5.
Wow.
Yes, I'm the baby.
You're the baby.
Yeah, I still claim to be the baby.
Well, technically you are the baby. You are the baby. That is awesome. So now, dad was the worker, mom was a stay-at-home mom, 5 children. What's like the age gap?
Well, it was 17 years between my older sister and me. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was a gap.
Okay.
And then after 11 years, my mom started having, more children. So it was like every 2 years. So
Wow.
the last 4 of us are every, 2 years
Every
apart.
2 years. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So it sounded like you always knew you wanted to be a teacher.
I did, but when I graduated high school, it was when IBM was big, and they're like, oh, if you graduate, with a degree in computer science, you'll make all this money, blah, 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 blah. So I started at NYU as a computer science math major,
Right.
and it was programming, and it wasn't quite my forte. And then my eyes got bad. I had an infection in my eyes from on the computer and all that back then. And I said, money isn't everything.
That's the one.
Let me do what I feel that I'm meant to do and what I love and where my passion was. So I changed my major to back, to teaching, and that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote. That's all that was meant.
Always will be a teacher.
Yes, that's all she wrote. That's all that was meant. I love that because I asked that because a lot of times some are blessed to know exactly what they want to do, and they literally full-blown tunnel vision and they go and do that. But a lot of us, like even myself, when we go to college, we're exposed to so many different things, we start to shift.
Right.
So then now you've got a degree that you don't even want to use because you really do love the original thing that you went there for, but the environment sometimes has you shift. So I'm saying that for a reason. I know this, especially with the kids, a lot of times parents get frustrated. Like, oh, you done change your major again, but they're still trying to figure, we gotta give our kids grace.
Yes.
We gotta give our kids grace, especially if all they know is home, and then now they're being exposed to so many different people, the teachers, the students, all different things, so it causes them sometimes to kind of shift and want to try new things. So, to the parents, I know some that I know personally are feeling some type of way about their kids in college, like, now she want to do this, now she don't want to do that, we got to give our children grace. So thank you so much, for sharing that.
Yes, and then also from the other side, being a professor, I see students changing, and some of them come in and don't know what, and I'm like, I tell them, it's fine, that they will eventually, with the exposure and the experience, really decide as to, what their aspirations are, and then sometimes they come, like I did, and like you said, you have different experiences, different courses, different subject matter that they may not have been aware of before, and then they change. So yes, I totally agree with you. I think that, give children time and give them grace and give them the space, to really self-evolve.
Absolutely. I love that. So now, I love that you shared that you're still connected to what you wanted to do. You didn't get the you didn't get the superintendent title, but you're still operating in what you love to do, which is to, teach and also to encourage the professors and other teachers to be better at what they do. So what has that done for you? Are you married?
Divorced.
You're divorced.
Yes.
Was that part of the issue in the relationship? Like the drive? Because you seem ambitious. And sometimes that can, sometimes that can be part of the issue in relationships, not on purpose, but this is just how life goes sometimes. Sometimes, your tunnel vision, you have this in mind, and then career and things can make it kind of fan out.
I mean, that may have been, I'm not quite sure if it was, really the root cause of the divorce, but I would say that, he was supportive. I mean,
Okay, that's good.
well, with me, kind of happy. It's Renee's way. That's the name of my incorporation,
Okay.
Renee's way. Because Renee, like when it's so funny, my oldest son, he's like, yeah, it's your world. We're just trying to live in it.
Thank you for inviting us sometimes.
But no, he gave me the freedom. He wasn't one to say, oh, where are you going? Or, when I'm going on conferences. Mm-hmm. And then there were many conferences where I took the family with me.
Okay.
Because I wanted my sons to experience that of traveling and seeing me as a professional.
Right.
And,
are you a boy mom?
I am. I have two sons. My sister had the 3 girls.
Okay.
And I stopped at the 2. And so I am, it is so funny how you change, because when I was in high school, I never went to a football game. I didn't watch. But now it's like, kill him. She's like,
she got the
totally. You should have seen me for the Super Bowl. I bought a ref shirt, and I had my whistle and my penalty flag.
All the way in.
I go in. I go in. So
so
it's so interesting how, as a parent, you change as well, to connect with your children. Absolutely. So now I'm like, I'll say, are you guys, so-and-so is playing, and they're like, oh, there's a game. I'm like, you guys don't know there's a game on, so I find myself watching myself. But before, I never watched anything. Mm-hmm. But
wow.
Yeah. So high school and college, one played football, one played basketball, and I just love it now.
Love it. Yeah. I love. Listen, there's nothing like your life shifting and you enjoying it. Mm-hmm. You getting that what do you call? You're getting that pleasure, from how your life shifts. Because a lot of times we think we know, even in high school, we kind of think we know what we want, but we don't always see all that comes within all the things that are around it. We kind of have like tunnel vision. But as you get older, the maturity, I think your lenses kind of spreads a little bit.
Yes.
I love that for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Just like my niece, she just turned 40. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, girl, I said, you just wait. It gets better. Wait until 50.
I'm telling you, it does.
It does.
It does. Thank you for saying that. See, I didn't even say it. Dr. Nay said it. So that's the stamp of approval, honey. 40s is up. Listen.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to get older, honey. Life is great to live.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much
exactly.
for sharing that.
I wouldn't want to go back. I would like to stay where I'm at.
Yes. Love that. Yeah. So, authorship.
Yes.
How did that come about?
To this day, I'm still amazed that I have written books and doing interviews and traveling. And it was during COVID. COVID had hit. And I was home, and I was chair of my department at the university. And I resigned from that because I didn't need the stress, because I had some things going on, at home. And everything was, shut down remote. Mm-hmm. And the day after I submitted the letter of resignation, words just started coming.
I felt that.
And, I said, let me just get the laptop and put the words down. And when I would look, the poems were complete. That's how they came. I never sat to say, what should I write about? They just
flowed.
They just came I was taking dictation. Wow. Even now when I read a poem, I'm like, I wrote this. Because I really feel that they're not really mine. I feel that I was trusted with them, and that they are not to just sit on a computer. So that's why I forged ahead to publish them, to get them out. And what was even so amazing, when it was just okay, it's finished. And then I put the titles on index cards as to how should I sort them as chapters. Woo! They came out perfect.
Look at that.
It was all, and I'm just flowing. So, people say, oh, how do you I really can't answer. But what I have learned recently is that I can write some things on command. You know, so I'm learning that, okay, I do have some of the gift. You know what I'm saying?
That is a gift. Absolutely.
Yeah, but still, it comes. Just like I was just at a movie filming, Trial by Fire, which is a great movie that's coming out.
I saw that in the group.
Yes.
I saw that.
And so after that experience, like being on a movie set, and the movie is just, I think, so relevant and so poignant, and we really need to watch it, you know, as a people, because it touches upon issues that we deal with, and racism, etc. In the middle of the night, the worries started coming. When the worries come, I can't sleep, you know, and it's like, and so so there's something that may spark a poem or a conversation. Who knows what I may be doing at 3:00 tonight, right?
No, I got
because you know it's through conversation and it sparks an idea, and it just turns into a poem. So it's just, if someone had asked me, you know, a couple of years ago that, oh, you're going to write poetry, I'll be like, poetry? Me? I write academic journals and book chapters, you know, that deals with, you know, teaching and all that. But poetry? Yeah.
I love that. When I tell you, I felt all of that. Like, I caught chills. I felt literally all that. Every time we did this, I was like, I felt that. I felt that. That's amazing. So you come up with this idea to write the book, and it just basically flows. What was the feeling when you started realizing how it was being received? And what's the name of the first book?
Well, the first book is Embrace Your Power, a sister-to-sister conversation, which is for women's empowerment. So I had that published first. Okay. But what's interesting, though, is that the Sister Girl poems came first. And that's my first bestseller on Amazon. So, you know what I mean? So those are the first poems that came, were the Sister Girl poems. And then my sons were like, well, what about the guys? What about the guys? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. so then those started coming, but I did ask them for, ideas and bounced it off of them and trying to use terminology, as to how a guy would express something. But I did publish the Embrace Your Power as the first.
So let me ask you this: Embrace Your Power for the women. Why do you think that came to you? Did you have to ever deal with situations where you needed to be empowered? Was there like an issue there, or was it just something where you saw, I don't want it to sound, how can I explain it? I don't want it to sound trendy, but it kind of is, if that makes any sense. So at the time that this came to you, I know you're dealing with COVID, or COVID was happening. Can you think of something where you think it triggered you to want to write this particular book? Does it make any sense?
Yes, I understand, but no, because I didn't even realize I was writing the book while it was happening. Okay. Because the poems were coming a poem at a time. Sometimes, 2 poems, 3 poems a night, they would just come. Wow. They would just come, and so as I was going through the process, I didn't even realize that it was turning into a book, or turning into books. But now, like in retrospect, when I'm reading some of the poems and discussing them, it's like I see some of me in it. Right. Okay. So it's not like I was writing from an experience. Now my love poems, so that book is on the shelf waiting to be published. I'm getting footing first. Okay. But the love poems, I could say, are more based upon experiences and emotion and feelings. Okay. But you're definitely glowing right now. She turned into a little girl just now. She's like, yes, so. I know. I'm 57 years old, right? I'm still a little girl. Yes.
Okay.
But the ones for the women, I think a lot of it had to do with my raising by my mom.
Okay.
She was always the encourager. She was always like, I'm doing. I'll tell her I'm doing whatever. Okay, what do we need to do?
All right,
that type of thing. When I had my son, she was there. She moved to Virginia and to take care of him for me to finish school. So she was always, my cheerleader. And when I look at, excuse me, my book, Embrace Your Power, I see that as me kind of transferring that, like I'm doing it to encourage other women as
forward.
to what, exactly, as to what I gained from having, a mom like that. So, yeah, so it's divided into chapters where the first chapter in one of my favorite poem, I would say, I am who I am, I am who I am, take me or leave me, I'm that strong, powerful woman, and that's another whole podcast as to some people men being able to deal with that and others not.
Well,
but and it's about identifying who you are and and just accepting. And some days we're a mess, we're a hot mess, and that's how I see my poetry as conversations, because it's not like, oh, the sky is blue, whatever. It's like, I'm talking to you.
Right.
The way the words are. It's like, sister, let the man go, do, it's okay. It's a temporary state, but it'll be better, so,
it'll last always, sis.
Exactly, and then chapter 2 is about, self-care, how we need to take the time, take a moment, find our special time to, self-reflect and to sit still and nurture. And then chapter 3 is like, as women, we all have similar experiences, no matter what age, where we grew up, our ethnicity as women, right? So in that chapter, it's, ideas of, our special, I call it our, so like I even have like a menopause.
All right.
A menopause poem, because
it's
people
real.
Don't tell
you stuff. You feel alone.
Exactly. It's like nobody said anything, about.
You feel alone. You feel like everybody knows.
Yeah, exactly. You're like fanning and and whatnot, and then the last chapter is about, okay, well, what do you, like you had mentioned before, what are your own aspirations? Live your life, live your best life. Because we're always waiting for the kids to finish school, or we're waiting for the husband to get a promotion, or waiting for the mortgage to be paid, or whatever the case. But what do you want to do, and how do you get to meet your needs, and to meet your goals? So that's how the book is, divided, and it's like a journal. So I have questions at the end of each poem as to, how can we become better people? How can you become a better person as you read these poems? So what are some things? It's like, it's okay to say no.
Right.
So often it's hard for us to say no, but it's okay. And that conversation came up with a friend of mine.
Excuse me, sorry.
Who's a psychologist, and we were just having this conversation, regarding, a conversation she had with her client, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay to say no, and sometimes, for us to take care of ourselves, we have to say no.
Set boundaries, ladies.
Exactly.
And gentlemen,
everyone needs to
everyone
do.
set boundaries.
We all need to do that. So
be clear. Say what you mean what you say, and people will either honor it or bye-bye.
Exactly.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, so at the end of that poem, it's like, okay, well, prepare yourself, because, you can't just change overnight, right? It's a process. So it's the idea of, okay, what are some things that you can say instead of saying no, until you get to that point where you can say no,
And mean it,
and mean it, and keep it moving, right? So so it's a book where women can read and self-reflect, and then respond as to, okay, how can I deal with my situation better tomorrow?
I love that you have a space where they can respond, because I think it's, reading books is great, but sometimes there's that other part of it that you feel kind of left on your own. But to be able to kind of journal in the physical book as you're reading, I think that was very, very good for you to do that. I think that was good. Thank you for that.
Thank you, because I see it as a vicarious conversation.
Right.
So the poems are like I'm talking to the reader, and by the reader writing, it's kind of substituting them responding back to me.
And self.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
So, Sister Girl.
Where
did that title come from?
Well, okay, talk about titles. All right. So the Embrace Your Power title came from having a conversation with my sons. Okay, so he's the youngest one. He's a cyber guy. He's a cybersecurity analyst, and he had acquired all these certifications and whatnot, and he was asking for a raise, to compensate his level of education.
Expertise, yeah.
And they were kind of giving him, a little back and forth or whatever. And I'm like, well, you know what your worth is.
Hello, Mom.
You research, because, I'm one of those moms, I'm in, you know what, with your certifications, with your education, with your experience, as to what's the going rate, and you don't want to do that. Therefore, embrace your power. So I was standing in the kitchen, and I'm like, Owen, embrace your power. Embrace your power. And I'm like, dang, that's the title of the book. So that's how that title came about. The Sister Girl, I don't know. It was just like Sister Girl, like dear Sister Girl, and with sister, it's universal. It's not, just, African American sister, but to be a sister is like a fellowship, a sorority. That connection. Yeah. So with Sister Girl, I don't know where that came from. And then it's like, okay, step into your greatness, because it's all about empowering girls as well, so that they can be strong, powerful women. And then for the boys, I don't know where Yo Bro came from, honestly, but it's like, strive toward excellence, so it's the idea of really encouraging children, all children, but ours, as a target, to see themselves, to it's kind of, I guess, me writing it from like the motherly instinct type of thing, as to, do your best, what are your aspirations, because a lot of children maybe even think about what they want to be,
or ask,
what are the qualities of being great, and therefore, what is great about me, and how can I build my greatness? How can I reach, that level of excellence? And then, so it's self-reflective as well. And then that's chapter 1, and then chapter 2 is making history. Because I think it's so important for us to look at who we are and where we come from, because that's we're a makeup of our ancestors and what they experienced, and what was infused through our veins. So the second chapter is like looking at culture, the flavors of our people. We are all different flavors, colors. Sister hair. We all have, and I change quite often.
Too.
And and just appreciating everyone for who they are, and appreciating those differences, but also understanding that that students are history makers as well, because today is history for tomorrow. So keep in mind that you're a role model, as well, because a lot of think youth, they don't realize that they're role models as well, and they are making
peers.
a difference to their exactly to their peers and to, you know, their siblings and to others. And so there's a poem in there about Juneteenth. I have a poem in there dedicated to my family because I found out through my research that all blacks in the South prior to 1865 were not slaves. I found out that there were thousands of free blacks prior to 1865.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And whatnot, you know, but we don't learn that, you know. So I found.
I actually learned that on the podcast. I had a guest who explained that to me.
Really?
Absolutely. He has a museum in Georgia that people come to visit, and he was explaining that, you know, we kind of tapped into plantations and things of that nature, and he explains some things to me.
Yeah.
And it was good. I like to learn, so I was it was really good.
Exactly.
So thank you for sharing that.
And how I found out was doing a family tree for a family reunion years ago, and I'm like, we were free blacks.
Wow.
And we owned property, and we were farmers, and I was able to date back to 1798. I'm like, you know, so yeah, so that's a poem in there as a people, you know, dedicated to my family, as to, you know, the strength, the perseverance, as to how did you fight through, you know, the situation of that time and stay free, you know, and still thrive. So yeah, so that was just totally amazing. So so that's a poem in there as to something that all people, not just our children, need to learn, because a lot of things, you know, we are not taught in school, and we need to seek out other truths, you know, as individuals. And then chapter 3 is about social activism. So there's a Black Lives Matter poem, looking at bullying, looking at, you know, guns in school. So what is your role as to making change in your community, in your society? You know, we think about James Banks and multicultural education. Social activism is high in regards to different approaches of multicultural education. So we need to teach children that, you know, they're not, say, victims of trauma. It's the idea of, okay, how can you make a difference and impact the world around you? So yeah, so
Dr. Nay,
that's what that is. Yes.
All of this. Oh my goodness. So when it comes to, do you have any like anecdotes connected to like a response from maybe the book, or you just being a teacher that stands out where you're like, I know I have to continue, I'm obligated to do this work because this happened once, or I received an email that said A, B, and C, or a young lady came up to me and thanked me because this happened. Like, do you have any anecdotes like that? Any stories?
I it's more of as I'm teaching, I will get feedback from my students. Like, I teach a cultural literacy class, it's a graduate class. So my students are teachers. And they'll say, oh, well, I never thought of it from that way. Or, oh, wow, there's still racism. You know, you know, so it's really
There's still racism?
I've had, it's,
wow.
You know, talking, you know, we have a class, you know, about evaluating children's books for bias. And oh, this is a great book to use, you know, but then after they read the article and we go through the experience, they're like, oh no, I don't think I should use, you know, because it's not, you know, and they say, oh, I've been living in a bubble, you know, and they realize, wow, there's a lot they're not even conscious of.
It's not their world.
It's not their world, right. And then some of them get upset and emotional, or what have I done? Have I ruined? I was like, it's the idea of, from this point on.
Come on, Dr.
From this point on, what do you do?
What do you do?
What do you do to make
That's
a difference?
the one.
You know, what difference can you make? You know, so, you know, so with my class, it's a continual affirmation, you know, as to what I'm doing when when they start off, you know, one way, but then the last class, they're like, oh, you know, they share like, oh, I'm seeing this through a different lens, or I'm taking this into account,
Love
or
this.
I'm more aware of, you know, so based upon some comments, you know, I get on a yearly basis, I'm like, yeah, I need to, you know,
Continue this.
Continue
That's
this.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, but now I'm like shifting, you know, with the books, because I want to get them in the hands of children, in schools.
So that's what you've been doing recently, right?
Yes,
Talk
yes,
about that.
yes. So I've been, it's been, I say a challenge, you know, getting schools to, say adopt the book. So I do, have, a gig, you know, of workshops in a school in Queens for Black History Month, using, the book. And not just
these two.
These two,
Okay.
yes. And it's not, you know, just me going in and conducting workshops for students or having, you know, assembly programs, but training teachers.
Right.
You know, so I want to begin professional development in schools for teachers as to, you know, how do you incorporate diverse literature, how do you look for diverse literature,
right.
but also how do you implement it, because, you know, you can give the book to a teacher and it may not be, you know, implemented as effective as someone who is really committed and dedicated to the purpose.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that. No, because people need to understand, you know, just because they went to school for a certain thing doesn't mean they're well equipped to teach it or to bring a certain type of light to it when it comes to our kids. Our kids are sponges, you know, they want to learn things. They want to be excited about certain things. So it takes a certain type of educator to be able to, you know, keep them engaged and keep them excited about certain things such as this. So thank you so much for that. Now, when you said it's a challenge, what part of it is the actual challenge?
The idea of people or administrators responding back, you know, like I would reach out and share the book, and, you know, and well, they may, you know, seem positive, but it's the idea of still waiting for people to call and say exactly, because, you know, I have to understand as well that, you know, it has to go through channels, it has to go through, you know, the teachers looking, talking, and deciding, and how does it fit in the curriculum. But, you know, it's aligned with ELA standards, it's aligned with social emotional learning, which I have indicated, you know, in the books, you know, as well. But, yeah, but, and with something new, with anything new, it takes time for it to catch on, you know. So it's the idea of, you know, meeting people, putting it out there to know that it is available, and also for educators to understand the need for it.
Yes,
you know, because we may understand the need, but other people may not understand the need for it. And, you know, unfortunately, what I have realized years ago, I used to work with the State Department, and I was part of the accreditation team where we used to go to different colleges and evaluate their programs as to if they should have accreditation or not. And I would always volunteer, even if I were chair of the team, I would volunteer to do the standard of diversity. Because there was always a standard, no matter if it was AQUEP or for in CADE or the regions, and the educators, you know, higher ed, they understand what I'm talking about, right? You know, and unfortunately, every school that I went to, I had to write up, you know, a recommendation as to improve, because it's not like a required course in many programs, or it's not, diversity isn't infused or integrated through, you know, various curriculum preparing teachers. So, you know, so we really can't sometimes blame teachers, because it may not have been in their program. You know, but it's the idea that what can school districts do, right, to better prepare the teachers who they already have. So, you know, so that's where professional development comes in, where all right, we need to address this need, and you look at the population of the children and population of the teachers. That's cultural discontinuity. So it's the idea of going in and teaching them.
Yeah, and that's and I guess this is me just being not an educator, not in the education field, but it always kind of like even with you saying that makes me feel like I don't understand how it's not a concrete thing where it should just be automatically, and implemented. Like, okay, I'm a correction officer. We have to take cultural diversity every year. I'm an officer. So you're educators, that should automatically be. Do you know what I'm saying?
She like and it's not. Yeah, we gotta figure this thing out.
Right, or it may be written, on the syllabus, whatever. But again, depending on who the professor is, will determine how much they may emphasize
what they
it
go over
or not.
Gotta do better. Okay, we got it.
Yes.
Well, this is why she's doing what she's doing. She's putting it out there.
That's what I'm
So how have
doing,
you been? How do you feel you've been received on the island, Long Island? I know you don't.
I'm still waiting. I've reached out. I've reached
She's
out
like,
to
excuse me.
to the various school districts. So, like
Okay.
I said, it's some things are going through.
So we're through the process. We're doing the process.
The process,
Okay.
but yeah, yeah, but so it's kind of showing as to how committed people, just we're committed to diversity. Are you really committed to diversity?
Are you?
What are you really doing to address the needs of your students? And just like I was sharing with someone the other day, where the books are not just for Black districts, right? They're for all districts.
Yes.
And districts
Thank you for
that
saying
are
that.
majority Caucasian need the books just as much, because they're not getting exposure and interaction with people who look different than them.
And they will.
Yeah,
they will, because we're here,
right.
So it's important that they have that and I think that's part of the issue as well when it comes to our, not just the youth but adults as well, because as a youth you're going to get older, and when you're not exposed you don't know how to respond to it.
Exactly.
Like even just tapping into that particular class, I know even when I went through the academy, there was certain questions that they asked and a lot of people were on mute because it wasn't their world. And all I'm thinking is that to me it was dangerous, because you're going to encounter these people. How are you going to respond?
Right.
If something gets excited, or
right.
They say a certain thing and you don't know what it means. Are you going to get excited in an aggressive way or manner,
right,
when it's your ignorance, not theirs?
Exactly.
So we need to really do something about that, and
exactly,
bridge the gap.
exactly.
We need to do something.
Exactly, and that's the same. Like in the classroom, how we may have different communication styles, or we may be, I hate, the stereotype, but more animated or whatever, but someone else may perceive it as disruptive or aggressive.
Absolutely.
So that's, unfortunately why we have overrepresentation of Black boys in special education, or being suspended more, or expelled from school, where they're just,
well, we're like, he just did such and such.
Right. It's not understood. It's not understood.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So now 3 books, one in the works. One in the works.
It's sitting there. It's
one in the works. It's in the works, people.
Yes.
She's saying sitting there. That means it's in the works. So what is the end? I don't even want to say end game. I don't want to say end game. What is the next goal that you have in mind? And that maybe we can also be a part of or assist with, to put you out there, anything like that. What's the goal?
It's so interesting. It's been so interesting for the past, what's it been, a year and a half, or 2
Time
years?
is flying, yes.
Exactly. It's like I can't keep track of the time. And it's not like I have a like people are like, okay, what is your business plan? But it's not like I have a business plan. I'm just trusting God and just
Yes.
and He just and it's just one thing is
flow
to flow into another thing, into another thing. Even how we met,
Right.
and then being a little part, in a movie that just happened because I met,
divine connections. People pay attention.
yeah,
God is moving.
and putting me, actually tomorrow night I'm going to be on TV.
You are
I was interviewed. I did an interview with Assemblywoman Rebecca.
I saw that.
Yeah, so that's going to be aired tomorrow night. So and I met her through, and I said I really need to be writing like a journal as to how
you
things
absolutely
are happening.
should.
And it's like my friends may say, oh, how are you how are you getting like these gigs,
Right. How
and
is
I'm
this
like
happening?
you would think I have an agent, but as I said, what I said the other day, I said God is my agent.
Yes,
so
I love that. God is my agent. I'm gonna have to make that shirt for you. I love that. God is my agent.
God is my agent.
I'm gonna have to make that shirt for you.
Opportunities have been just
coming.
It's
your time.
I haven't been like, I just been, I get a little frustrated at times, I have to admit, when I send out emails and wanting to, really get these in the school and, and doing that. And then I hit crickets, and it gets frustrating. Then I'm like,
you're like,
just stand still. And that's one of the poems in your Embrace Your Power. Just stand still and you'll be guided. Take your hands off the wheel and you will be guided to where you need to go. So yes, I would want to really get these books into the schools and really, make a difference there. And then my Embrace Your Power book to reach more women.
Yes.
Actually, I'm flying to St. Martin in a couple of weeks as a featured author of a book club.
Okay.
So the idea of empowering women and building those conversations internationally and internationally, because I love
I was about to say the word international, honey.
Yes,
international.
Yes,
international. Dr. Nay.
Yeah, so I'm going international, and I guess how I have seen myself, this vision that I have. I don't know how I'm going to get there, but
it's coming.
It's coming. Being on a huge stage, and Dr. Nay becoming a household name.
Come on, Dr. Nay.
And
it's coming.
I don't know how, but it's
listen. You don't have to know how, but you know who.
Exactly.
That's the one.
Exactly.
Love it.
And traveling and because I love meeting people, talking to people, making an impact. On people just by conversation, because you'll be amazed as what you can say can really inspire someone.
Absolutely.
And really trigger, reaching their goal. Their goal. So yeah,
it's coming.
So
it's coming. He is preparing you.
Yeah, exactly.
Step
by step. And when some things don't happen, I say, I guess that wasn't meant to be.
Right.
So I'm learning. At 57, I'm still learning. I'm still evolving. I'm still growing.
Love that.
And so
I love it.
So it's this idea of getting the books out there, and just making a difference.
Just enjoying the doors that are being opened.
And I am.
I love it.
I can tell. I am enjoying
I can tell. She got me blushing.
I am enjoying it. I'm flying to Vegas next week for the Black Enterprise. Yeah, I'm just
that's awesome.
Enjoying the ride.
Yes, you better enjoy the ride. And please journal. Yes, definitely journal.
I really need to, because how I'm meeting people and how
connections.
It is.
You want to be able to read back, and I'm saying this to you because I just started reading. And it's got to be God's timing, because I had the book when it first came out. Cicely Tyson's book, and she did not want to write a book. She just didn't. She's like, "You guys see me on TV. That's enough." And before she died, she wrote this book, and I'm telling you, just being able to see all that how she became the woman she was, from childhood until you have to journal. You absolutely have. Someone needs to understand that just keep going and you don't have to force certain doors. God will open them and He
and
will
they're just
put you out
opening.
there.
Yes. And
So,
being
yes,
here today.
I'm telling her to
And
journal.
yes. And it's so interesting because from the Black women in
In
Long Island, Judith.
Yes. Hi, Judith. Thank you, Judith.
Yeah. I did a photo shoot and like a documentary, a docu-series, I forget what they
Yes.
call it, and she said, yeah, and you're going to be writing your autobiography. And I said, I'm writing an autobiography.
Yes,
She's
you
like,
are.
yes, you are writing your
Come on,
autobiography.
Judith. Speak
So
it.
talking today to you was like,
confirmation.
it has come. Yeah,
it is confirmation. I'm telling you.
Yeah. But I would love to write a book about my family in Virginia as free Blacks.
That sounds amazing.
So just talking to you just now, about the gentleman you had interviewed, I was like,
confirmation
that's another connection.
Listen,
as
absolutely.
to having someone to consult with to get the historical elements correct.
And I'll give you his information for sure.
Yeah,
he's awesome. He's awesome. I learned a lot in that little bit of time. I said, whoa. It was so good. So yes, someone needs to hear about your family. So absolutely, you write that book. She's right. So like I said originally, people, it's in the works. She may not be physically doing it in this second, but it's in the works because that's how God moves. I love this. You're amazing.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh my goodness. So traveling.
Yes.
More doors opening.
Yes.
In the process, you're in a waiting process, I'll say, in reference to getting these amazing books into the schools, to people, to educate people more. You're a big reader?
I'm more of a writer.
You're more of a writer. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm behind in some of my books right now.
I have to admit. Because it was always like reading articles and doing research.
It's all connected to the education part.
Exactly.
Got you. That makes sense, though.
So yeah. So yeah. So even now, I'm reading more. Preparing for classes and changing my syllabi and that type of thing. It's this idea of looking for more journal articles and research.
Excuse me, sorry.
But yes, but to read leisurely.
Okay.
We
probably don't really have the time to also. I got you. That makes sense. It's all good. So what would you like if someone came on right now and was like, what are they talking about? What would you want to leave them with about Dr. Nay, or what you want your legacy to look like? What would you leave them with? Because you are the greatness and empowerment person now. What would you say to them to empower them? Or what comes to mind?
My legacy, wow. I would want Dr. Nay to be the symbol of inspiration, a symbol of empowerment as to having the confidence and the thrive to pursue whatever you want to achieve. I want to be perceived as a person who is open and responsive. Like we had said earlier, that auntie, that auntie that you can go to and talk to, and who will encourage you or to give you resources or some type of direction. But then the auntie too, who was fun, who can, because I love to have people over. I love to cook for people. I love to entertain. And I just love people to come and feel warm and comfortable and just to be who they feel they want to be at that moment.
Love that.
Yeah.
Dr. Renee White of South Jamaica, Queens,
South
New York.
Jamaica,
She
Queens.
made sure I said South Jamaica. Just want to throw that out there. So I had to make it clear that she's from South Jamaica. Listen, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
blessed me. I know
Aw.
this is gonna bless the people because this really blessed my heart. I
Aw,
caught chills a few times. You're so amazing.
thank
Your
you.
sons are blessed to have you as mom.
Yeah.
And whoever else is auntie too. Yeah, are blessed as well. But you are so amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. Please let the
Thank
people
you.
know where they can see purchase your book.
Oh, okay. I guess I'll put them up.
This is mine.
This is the Yo Bro, and this is the girl. They can get it on Amazon
Okay.
or Barnes and Nobles, any worldwide book retailer.
Okay, great.
Also, you can visit my website, drnay.blog, drnay.blog, blog. And there's a page where you can buy the books
Okay.
as well. And the Embrace Your Power, I didn't bring that one with me today,
Okay.
but the Embrace Your Power book as well. You can, just type it in on Amazon. And or you can visit my website, and I'm on social media.
Okay. And what are you on
And,
social media under?
Oh my goodness.
She's like, "You asked me
Honestly,
that?"
I am new. I never had social media, but my son said, okay, like promote the
He
book
said,
and
you gotta get
whatnot.
out there, mom.
I have to. Yeah, I've always been
Our
like a
sons are
behind the
amazing,
scene.
right?
They
They
are.
are. They sound so great.
They are. They are.
Aw.
That's my team's OTF all the way.
Yeah, look at OTF.
Yeah. So I forgot what I was saying.
She got so excited. So the sons hooked up mom and said, you got to be on social media.
Social media. Yes.
Mhm.
So I am on Instagram, and I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Not much. I don't put much on Twitter. And I'm on LinkedIn
Nice.
as well. For the professional connections. Yeah. So I'm
So
out there.
is
I
it
haven't
just
done
your
TikTok
name?
yet.
Is it Dr. Renee White on social media?
Dr. Renee White.
Dr. Renee White. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes, I'm always,
All right.
my son, he always fusses with me because I forget my passwords. I forget my, it's like, all right, I'm
She's
learning.
like,
I'm
you do it.
learning. I'm learning.
I'm learning. I love that. Listen, Dr. Renee White of South Jamaica, Queens, New York has blessed the hot mic. I don't think we will ever be the same. And one thing you're going to leave here today is empowered and encouraged. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Like, I'm
Thank
excited for you. Continue to just flow. That's my word for you. Is flow.
Flow.
Yeah, continue to just flow. Like, God, this keeps getting me. Every time I look at you now, I just see that. I love it.
Yeah, and that's how I feel.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
Listen,
it's just,
as they say,
it
rain down, the
comes.
prayers go up, the blessings come down.
Yes.
Rain down on Dr. Nay. I love this. I love this. I'm so excited for you. If you guys want to support her, make sure that you tap in and visit her website. What's the website again? I'm so sorry.
drnay, drnay.blog, blog.
All right. Listen, make sure you visit the website and see all the amazing things that she's done and is doing. St. Martin event.
Yes, that's in March. The United Women Book Club.
Okay. Can anyone get involved or?
Well, it will be on social media.
Okay.
I think it may be like an invited guest type of event.
Okay.
For the organization. I'm trying to think what else is coming up.
You said Vegas.
Oh yes, Vegas is next week. I'm going to the Black Enterprise because there are more. I don't know if you people, but she's fabulous. She is a makeup. She owns the makeup Vera Moore, the cosmetics company.
Yes, the cosmetics company.
Yeah, so she's being honored there for the Legacy Award. So I'm going to support her.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
I love that.
So it's wonderful.
Awesome. Listen, make sure you guys tap in and visit, see what else she has cooking, because I'm sure we are going to hear more about Dr. Nay from Queens, New York. Thank you once again for coming on, visiting Hot Mic. Listen, she is officially now connected to our She Is My SHERO series. She didn't know that. I just want to throw that in.
Oh, I didn't.
Yes, officially. So, She Is My SHERO series, the second series this year, Miss Dr. Nay is my first guest.
Oh,
So thank you
I'm
so
honored.
much. And I'm telling you, this right here made you so fitting for that title. She is my SHERO. Thank you so much for being a
thank
SHERO to the masses. Once again, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe to Hot Micro Lady She podcast on YouTube. Soon to be on the other podcast platforms. Listen, y'all pray for me. I'm like Dr. Nay. We're figuring this thing out, okay? Give me grace. Give me grace. But I'm just going to stay excited and do the work that God has given me to do. Thank you so much in advance for supporting me. Thank you so much in advance for purchasing these books on any platform or on. I really want you guys to visit the website, though. Visit the website, see what she's about, and then you make your purchases. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys soon. Bye.